It is 5/3/2024, and I'm here with.
Annie Clapp.
And what is your occupation?
I run the cruise dinner boat in Morro Bay.
Where were you born?
I was born in Tulare County in Porterville.
And what got you to Moore Bay? Why did you come here?
We were in the restaurant industry, and we worked for an outfit that had changed corporations, and they cleaned house. We got fired, and came over to Morro Bay for the weekend. And on a whim, my husband brought some resumes, and he was hired, and we were had a family, and we thought this would be a really healthy place to raise our kids. So,
And how did you get into the boating industry?
oh well, that's a little bit more complex. My sister-in-law was working on the cruise dinner boat in Morro Bay that was here, for 30 years, and she was going up to San Francisco, and she knew that this vessel, the Chablis, was up there, and that they did similar things, charter cruises. And so she walked over to it in Alameda, and it's like trespassing basically. And the sous chef walked by, and she asked if it was for sale. And he said, "Yeah, I think it is." And she said, "Well, can we look inside it?" And he had a key, and he opened it up. And she got back from that vacation and said, "Hey, I have this business venture that I want you to be part of." And we brought the boat down after a couple months from Alameda, open ocean. That was breathtaking. And started our business here. And what's weird about that story is that the family that previously had the cruise dinner boats, this was built by one of the brothers up in Fields Landing in Humboldt Bay, but we didn't even know that at this point. And so when we brought it in, the brothers that were still here looked like a ghost had entered the harbor. And they were like, "Oh my gosh, I remember when this boat was being built up in Fields Landing." So I think what had happened when it was, they had built it to like try to give a go of it in Humboldt Bay, and there wasn't enough population to support something like that. And I think it was sold for back taxes at an auction. And then the Commodore Events out of Alameda purchased it, ran it for 10 years. And then we purchased it from them and brought it down to Morro Bay. And it looks super similar to the old Tiger's Folly, the first Tiger's Folly. The beam is a little bit wider, and there were some modifications, but it was basically built with the same plans. So weird.
And whenabouts was this?
That was in 2007.
So you started your business in 2007?
Yeah, right before the recession. That was a tough one.
And did you ever go out fishing here in Moore Bay?
Oh, sure,
recreationally or commercially at all?
Yeah, so I have another vessel behind me, the Pipe Dream, and so we do take that on fishing charters, and then also the sports fishing, that we've gone out of Burgess. Those are a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. Did you ever have? I know you said you worked in the restaurant industry. Did you work? Did you have any experience on the water, like during that time, or was this kind of your like the 2007?
This was my
first time.
Yeah, this was my first venture into boats, and I've learned a lot. The past 17 years has been a whirlwind.
Yeah, and when you got here, what could you describe what Moore Bay looked like in terms of either fleet size or Embarcadero?
When I got here, it was right when the fishing fleet was in a big downturn. It was, they were struggling, and so that was in 1997 or so. And then it did pick up. There was the big deal that they were getting the trawlers off of the government buyout for the trawlers.
Nature Conservancy.
Yes, that was going on. And then there's been an uptick in the last 10 years that, fishing was better, and that they were, making money, and people were able to live on it. And now I think that what I've heard is it's going back down.
And what were some of the challenges you've seen take place here in Moore Bay with the fishermen, or with yourself, maybe with the business, with the recession, or anything like that?
I think a lot of it has been government. I mean, is it overstep or government step that, closing the fishing industry? They come in. Um, Closing the season, you know, opening it late. That's been a big deal. One of my buddies over here, he wasn't even sure if it was even legal for him to fish. They went out today, so that was good. I guess it's legal for them to fish now. But it's just, they not clear communication for a large part, or you're waiting and, all of a sudden you figure that, oh, salmon's not even opening this year. That's a bummer. It's hard to plan a business when you have things that are so fluid.
Can you recall any of those regulations specifically, or is just blanket?
Yeah, like last year, I know that traditionally that they would open on April 1st, I believe, and then all of a sudden it was going to be May 1st, and then I think maybe they opened it May 15th. Um,
Is
and
that for
then
salmon
that
specific,
was
or is
for
it
rockfish.
rockfish?
And then salmon, they had a pretty good salmon year last year, but then this year I just heard it was closed, that there wasn't going to be salmon. So, yeah, it's a bummer. It's hard to run a business and spend a lot of money. Boats are a lot of money to upkeep. The whole government thing with us doing the tier one, tier two, tier three for the EPA compliance has been big. We had to re-energize our boat, and it was over $100,000. And when you're spending that kind of money, and then all of a sudden they don't allow you to make any money because the season's closed or it's going to be dramatically shortened, take a hit.
Mm-hmm. Do you? I see you have a restaurant or kind of a
Yeah,
galley, I guess.
yeah.
Do you buy local catch and use local catch
Yeah,
in
we
your
buy it
fishing?
from the like Tognazzini's up here, so we do get nice fresh fish.
And you try to buy local as much as you can. Is
Yeah,
that the case?
yeah. Sometimes you can't, salmon right now. At least we get wild caught and not farmed, so that's nice that it's actually a good product. But yeah, we do a lot of local. Probably the most local thing that we serve on a consistent basis are the oysters. So I don't know if that even fits into what you're interested in, but there's two oyster farms. Are you familiar with them in the Back
I
Bay?
know Grassy Bar
Yeah,
is
so Grassy
one.
Bar George. Do you know George?
I tried to get in touch with him, but I have not been successful.
I have a cell phone. I'll give it to you. Anyhow, he has such a great product, and he is so excited about oysters, and it's wonderful. We are getting them. Usually they were harvested within the 24 hours of when we're serving them. So we're really proud to be able to offer that to our customers.
Hmm. And have you noticed market demand for fish, causing change for fishermen and their businesses? Like, has demand for fish gone up? Has it gone down? How has it affected selling it here in Morro Bay?
I don't really know about that. It doesn't, I don't get a lot of that. We have so many people from the Central Valley that they'll come over strictly for the fish, but then their partner will be like, I never eat fish. So, we usually just always make sure that we offer it on our menu. But I don't know about demand.
Mhm. Have you noticed that regulation has helped or damaged the commercial fishing business here? And if it has helped it, is there one regulation or a couple that you have in mind that have helped, like
I don't know anything
specifically?
about that, but I do know that it seems that there's more fish in the sea than there were 7 years ago. But maybe I'm wrong.
Mhm.
So that would be that it's helped, right?
I guess so.
And
Um,
I don't know what regulations they were.
what um, could you describe the fishing community to me? I've had mixed
Mm.
reviews. Earlier, they say, back in the '60s, '70s, it was all very fraternal and everyone helped each other out. And now it's kind of cutthroat industry. And
That's
is
another
it
one. And
is it similar?
um, so I'm not involved in the fishing industry, as I said. I'm kind of periphery. I have a boat, so I'm in the boating industry. Along with those guys, most of them uh, and my part are just fine. There's a few that I absolutely adore, and they're always here to help me out if I have a question about the maintenance of the boat, or fabrication, or different boat questions that I just and I'm able to call them almost any hour of the day in an emergency. That's a handful of them. And as for the fraternal, I do know that there's always been women captains in the harbor. There hasn't been a lot of them. I think that there's been, since the Rita G. That's the, Rita. No, okay. Anyhow, she was, captain in the 1970s, and then her um, daughter and her granddaughter were both captains. And then there's me, and I know that there's a couple over at the whale watching outfit that there's, female captains. Um, as for the fraternality, if that's a word, of it, I can see that it probably was a little bit more closed in the 70s because there weren't so many people in Morro Bay, and the fishing industry was a little bit smaller. So you could see that they were relying on each other a little bit more, parts and know how. Just one moment. Hey, you want to grab this? Thanks. Sharing their knowledge and sharing their the different things that they had to offer.
Mm-hmm.
There's been a lot more people in the community, I think, too, from outlying areas where before it was people that were here for, 30 or 40 years.
Does it, the fishing industry, or I guess boating industry, is it always looking for new people to come into? Is it dying itself, or is it?
Oh, I don't think it's dying. No, I have seen, I would say 20 years ago on the harbor, you're going to see the fishing boats on the harbor. You maybe see some sailboats, but now you've got the electric boats. You've got, a couple other businesses that do fishing charters. That's pretty neat. That wasn't, there was only one that was Verges before, but now you've got the Landing that has a couple different outfits. The paddle boards, the kayaks. I mean, there's a lot more people out on the water than there was, I believe, in the 70s. And before it was more fishing. It was more work, and it seems that it's a little bit less friendly to the industries, like the traditional fishing industry and sports fishing, and that they've closed the back bay of the harbor. Where the old fuel dock is? The old fuel dock's not even there anymore. And they were saying that they didn't want any industry even in the back bay past Highlands Park. So it's like, oh my goodness, that used to be, a pretty thriving area. But I think there's more people on the water now and in more varied activities.
The fishing and boating community, I guess, is made up of a lot of men typically.
Mm-hmm.
The small number of women that are in the industry, but just on the water, I guess. Do you guys have an organization that you kind of be a part of, or is that something you would want? Is that?
So there is one. That's the Women in Fisheries organization. So there is one. I have catered their functions, but I'm not part of it. They're great.
And can you share some memorable experiences you've had here, either fishing or here on the boat, or just in Morro Bay in general?
Yeah. Gosh, where do you start? I have 20 years of, being here, and most of them have to do with the public, which is kind of breathtaking. You're like, oh my gosh, you get all kinds, it takes all kinds to make a world, right? So you have the people that are so wonderful and you just want them back on board. And then you have the people that you make notes on. Don't ever let this person back on board. People jumping off the boat, man overboard kind of stuff. That's horrible. And it's usually always they're jumping. It's not that they are having, a problem, that they didn't fall. During haul out, that's probably my biggest. That's probably my biggest high tense job, and that's when we take the boat out of the water, and every 2 years, and we have our Coast Guard inspection. And like last year, it was great. There was nothing wrong with the boat, but in the past, we put $30,000 into the boat, replacing anything that needs to be replaced. So those are probably my most memorable experiences that are just, the
high stress.
Yeah, scenarios. Just the high stress. Yeah. And that really seems like when the community comes together where, it's so funny that we're in Tidelands Park doing that you have so many people come by and give their 2 cents worth. And my brother always laughs. He's like, oh my goodness, everybody has a different way to do this. And, um, but then you'll have the really genuine people that know a lot and come by and help, and it's invaluable information a lot of the time.
I'm going to jump back really quickly to a question I forgot to ask. Um, do you find that a lot of your customers or clients are from more inland, like Bakersfield, or kind of coming over for the weekend, or do you find that they're more local?
It's about 25% local, and then 3/4 out of the area. So, and that says a lot that we have so many local customers that continue to frequent us. And a lot of our business, the bulk of our business is actually private charters. And so when I say that, private charters, it might even be up to 50% of local people are chartering our boat for different parties and celebrations. Whereas the private charters, that are booked out of the area, this is kind of a destination. And that's good. It stimulates the economy. They're buying hotels and filling up their gas tank and having 6 or 7 meals and getting all the goodies on the Embarcadero.
And just a quick follow up with that one. Do you think that's kind of harming the small town community type of feel, or is that just something that has always been part of your experience?
No, I don't think it's harming the small town community type of feel. I think that Morro Bay, since the fishing industry is on a decline, it used to be that this is the number one economy was fishing, and now it's number one as tourists. So either we are or we aren't. Are we going to cater to the tourists and encourage them to come into town and spend their money and have them enjoy the beauty of our area, or are we going to be stinkers and make them feel unwelcome? So no, I think that the reason that they do come over and they enjoy their few days here is because it is a lovely area. The weather is completely opposite usually of what they're experiencing. It's hotter than Hades in the summer, and then they'll come over here and it's 63 degrees, 68 degrees. That's wonderful for them. And also, there's so much nature here. And there's so many things to do. It's not all commercial tourism that has to, there's so much, there's hiking, there's, kayaking, there's boating. You're not all about just spending money on the stores in the Embarcadero. So, no, I think that Morro Bay pretty well has maintained our small town feel. Our population hasn't increased. It seems like in the 20 years that I've lived, 20, 30 years that I lived here, it's remained, just hovering at about 10,000 people.
And do you expect your boat to become a family operation? A lot of fishermen and boaters say that they
Yeah.
pass it on to their kids, or their kids don't want it, and they're just going to get out the industry as they're the last
Yeah.
one.
So it is definitely a family industry. So this boat's owned by 3 women. We're veteran owned and women owned. So it's my sister and my mother and myself. And so my sister does all the bookkeeping and accounting, and then my mom does all the booking, and then I do all the day-to-day operations. My children work on the boat. Every single one of them has worked on the boat. We have 4 kids, but only one is actively working now on the boat. So that's actually no, two. Two are actively working now on the boat. But as for them taking it over, I'm not quite sure if they're going to do it or not. There's been some talk about them, specifically one right now. I don't know if she's serious or not, but if that's the route she wants to go, that would be a really neat thing.
And lastly, is there anyone else I can talk to about fishing? Anyone that you know in the community that would be knowledgeable about boating or fishing?
Did you talk to the sports fishermen? Sports fishermen? I think they're the ones that have been, talk to those guys.
No, not yet.
Okay, so the Endeavor just came in, and the one that just left, you saw it. That's Brad. He could have a really extremely heated conversation with you about some things that have happened to him recently, and he's a great guy. Brad Lake is his name, and have you gone up to Verge's Landing? Do you know where that is?
Yeah, it's on the cross.
On Market, yeah. You go to Verge's Landing. The new owner, he's owned it for probably a year now, so he might have some good things to talk to you about. And then as for just the commercial fishing, you know what? There's another one. Sean Stambeck is a good person for you to call. he has a YouTube presence, and he's kind of a hoot. But anyhow, you might want to talk to him. He has a lot of experience, and he's pretty educated. He's a smart guy.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Hey, thank you.